What's up, dude?
Oh yeah, mate.
The long-awaited podcast is here. So, oh, hi, cutie pie. So, oh, hi, boo-boos. So, Charlie's more the type that every time he gets very jealous and possessive of me. So,
Yeah.
if I talk on camera, he tends to bark a lot, and it's obviously, a habit. I like you have the kettlebell cameo in the corner. He tends to bark a lot, and then he'll like try to jump in the ice bath with me, and then like the computer will fry. So we may not have a Charlie cameo, but I'll be sure to send you guys pictures and videos of Charlie to even that out. So Andy, why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, I'm one of your mates, so that says enough, doesn't it?
That's true. That's true. I'm happy that you're
Um,
my.
I'm a podiatrist here in Melbourne, in Australia, and I could call myself a natural podiatrist. So I promote natural foot function, and rather than trying to correct everything to be back to perfect. That's the way I see it now. Yeah.
So in addition to Andy's being a barefoot podiatrist, he's also my dog advisor, my cycling advisor, and just a good dude, just a solid dude. Can you give us some background into your career and how you became a podiatrist and your athletic career, which I want to dive into also today, or your former athletic career?
Yeah. So I was born in 1977. I won't start there. I was an athlete as a junior up until like early 20s as a runner, and maybe that's what got me into podiatry as well. But injuries stopped that. I was a national level runner, middle distance running, and then injuries stopped me, and I became a podiatrist. Not that those two things are the same, but and I was a regular podiatrist, you might say, for probably 15 years. And in that time, I think I took up golf and took that up really seriously. But then I took up cycling really seriously as well, and was racing at a very good level there. And then I had a few head injuries. I fell off a few times, and a lot of times actually. And I couldn't ride anymore because I didn't want to risk the concussion. And so I for some reason took up yoga. I don't even know why. It was like I was just drawn to it or something. And I noticed my own feet getting stronger through the practice of yoga. And then I went to a gym just for the first time in my life. I started going to a gym because I'm probably from the era where you didn't really strength train for sport specific. You just do the sport, So I went to a gym. There's some people barefoot training there. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And my feet started getting stronger. And then I thought, why don't I do this with my clients? And that's maybe 4 years ago. I'd been in a business partnership for 18 years. And so, it took a couple of years to get out of that and start practicing the way I want to practice. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, we can delve down the business world about living your own dream versus living someone else's dream. But what I really wanted to dive into today was, first and foremost, you being a competitive runner and a competitive cyclist, and you've had your fair share of competition. This came up in conversations before. Do you feel that competition or competitiveness is a good thing?
I think it has a place. And if we about living naturally, obviously the competitiveness comes from survival of the fittest. You've got to be the one that chases down the kangaroo, to eat it.
Or runs away from the lion to survive. Depends what part of the country.
That's right. And so I understand that, but I think we've moved so far away from needing to be competitive for our ability to stay alive that we've had to replace, and even we've moved so far away from moving naturally just to stay alive, hunting, gathering, even farming, in physical ways, that we've moved so far away from that we now have to have organised sport to create movement opportunities for us. And with that comes a competitive outlet for us in organised sport. And competitiveness is, put on a pedestal. And I think life is nowadays a lot more simple. You don't need to be competitive. You can get through life without being competitive. And you can love your neighbor without trying to beat them at everything. You don't have to always try and win.
Right.
And I've come full circle. Like, I used to be so competitive, unbelievably so. I remember, and I don't admit this to very many people, but I'm probably admitting it to a large audience now. I was about 18 in an 800-meter race, and I was just dominating the race, just sitting in. And as I went around the final bend, I said to the rest of the field as I went past, "When you're ready," like, I was cocky and competitive.
We call it in America like trash talk.
Yeah, and this is in the middle of a race. It's a horrible thing to do. Like, there was no way I would want my children doing that. Like, I think of it that way, but I remember, and this is not against my parents, they're highly competitive people as well. They're like, "Oh, that's cool," like, they were encouraging me to do that. But now I look back, I'm like, you know what, I'd rather not be that person. And in my final few bike races, I remember we were climbing up a very steep mountain and I was in the lead. And then a couple of people passed me because I just cooked myself too soon. And I was like, "Go for it, mate, go for it." I was like egging on my competitors. And in retrospect, I'm like, something had changed there where I just lost that need to be competitive. My wife is like, doesn't even understand what competition is. She just doesn't get it. And so maybe living with her for like 25 years has rubbed off on me. So yeah, there you go.
My wife is more competitive than me. In fact, we can't even train together in the gym because it's like, "Hey, give me the plates for the bench press." No, I want that weight for the squat. No, I'm using that. No, I'm using that.
Really?
So we made our serenity and peace with that. When it comes to competition, I kind of look back, as you said very well, that competition essentially, or sports, replace the primal urge that we originally had to survive, to be the first to bring home meat for the clan, right? Well, kangaroo meat by you and like cow meat by me, or whatever we hunt. I've always wanted to taste kangaroo meat. And if we look back, like, when did these things start? It was in Greece, right? That's when, like, the first Olympics, I believe it was originally just like chariot racing, or like and then eventually it jumped into, like, javelin throwing and rock throwing and strongmen and all sorts of different competitions. And I think competition, whatever it is, but especially in the sports world, gives us this feeling of satisfaction, the feeling of winning. And that's like, if you look into the philosophy of life, everybody wants to feel accomplished. That is, my opinion, at least as a go-getter and an achiever and a competitive person. Every day I want to wake up and feel like I achieved something. And when every day your grind, whether it's your training or your daily life, or even your family, your kids, your relationship, is working towards that sense of achievement. So like you're in America, the Super Bowl, right? That's like the finale of tackle football. And in soccer or football or rugby, the final, what do you guys call it?
In Australia, we call it the grand final.
Yeah, the grand final. So like, if your grand final, even if it's not a sports final, it's like, I want to have an amazing relationship with my wife, kids, and animals. So every day you're working towards that grand final of having that serenity. You get that sense of achievement. So I personally feel that competition, both with yourself and with others, can be a good thing, as long as it's done in a sportsman-like way, in a polite and courteous way.
Yeah, I agree, but I think they're two separate things. I think you can get sense of achievement without being competitive, because I want to achieve, yes, but I want the person alongside me to achieve as well. Like, it's not here. It doesn't have to be either or. It's almost like you all want to, like, I think the whole fun run is a good ideal where everyone's just doing their best. That's not being competitive. It's not like saying, "I'm going to try and beat you." It's just saying, "I'm going to try and be my best." And I think that's why I like golf, because it's all on handicap, and so you're just trying to beat yourself all the time. I'm highly competitive with myself playing golf, but I don't care if I don't beat some other people. I don't care at all, And I might still, like, I am still competitive, I have to admit. But other people don't even know. Like, just to keep myself in the game and to keep myself focused, I'll be knowing what they're scoring and knowing what I'm scoring. They don't even know it's a competition, but I am using it to remain focused, And similarly, like, I sell Barefoot shoes, and there are others popping up around Melbourne selling them. And I could be competitive or worried about that, but I just think, what are we doing this for? It's to get more people in barefoot shoes. The more of us selling their shoes, the better. Like, I'm ringing these people up and saying, "Good on you. If you need any help with how to set it up, let me know, because I've been through it." The more of us doing this, the better. It's not us against them,
Yeah, that really drives a few conversations. So if we look at competitiveness in sports, so there's individual sport, which is competing against yourself. That's kind of what Sarah likes. Like she likes powerlifting, she likes horseback riding, she likes surfing. I'm more of a team sport player. I like playing rugby, I
Yeah,
like ultimate frisbee, I like playing tackle football. I like growing alongside with the people on my team to become the best
yeah,
version of myself. That's in sports. Now for me, for my personality type and forever out there who can relate, I need the competition, not because I'm a trash talker. In fact, I'm the quietest person on the team, but I'm also the hardest worker on the team to give myself a pat on the back. I believe the way to beat your opponent is through hard work. You get on the
yeah,
field and you show them the 8 months of training you did and everything and the nutrition and the sleep and the barefoot life so you don't get hurt in the field. We'll get to that momentarily. Can't wait. So you win. And I like winning. It's a good feeling of winning. In fact, last night the Israeli version of the Super Bowl, like not soccer, like the tackle football league here in Israel, which I'm very involved in because I play with them, I coach them, was last night, and I watched that game and I saw the team who hasn't lost a game in 4 years, like their 4 year in a row champions, lose, and
oh
all of
wow,
a sudden, my friends there are my enemies.
oh
Not that I
wow,
played in the game, I was a fan, and I'm saying
yeah,
people to people I coach on the national team, to people who are my neighbors and friends. I'm like, hey, well played, man. Do look, f you, you were supporting the other team, and I'm like, where did the sportsmanship go? Yo, we're homeboys.
yeah,
Congratulate you on
yeah,
the game. Take the compliment, man. So like, I can
yeah,
see how competition can get ugly because
yeah,
when your drive to win overpowers your urge to have fun in the sport, then things
yeah,
start getting nasty. I
yeah,
personally don't believe in that. I'm always like sportsmanlike, and I encourage all the people listening and all athletes to remember that the goal of sport is not just to win, it's to play and grow as a human being as you do it. When you're
yeah,
competition in the business world, like you with shoes and me with training, I get a call every other day, like, "Hey, Sean, I'm starting a training business. Can you help me?" Because I'm very active in this like lone soldier community, like a lot of entrepreneurs who are finishing the army and wanna, start their own training thing. I'll spend as much time as I need on the phone and help them free because if they're another human being helping people getting stronger, faster, better, leaner,
yeah,
getting injury free, hell yeah. If it's
yeah,
ever relevant, maybe we do like collaborations. I'll say, hey, come on my podcast, or let's open a gym up north together, or whatever it is. But I don't look at other trainers as competition. I say our competition is fast food, laziness, procrastination,
yeah,
Nike shoes. Dun, 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 dun. Like there's so many bad things out there in the world that another human being trying to make the world a better place through barefoot shoes or through movement lifestyle or through strength training is good. And
yeah,
he or she will have his niche. I or my will have his niche, and no worries about competition.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. No, well, that's good to clarify that because yeah, like if I look into it, I definitely used competition to train hard. When I was a cyclist, I was doing 20 hours a week on my bike and up at the crack of dawn because I was running a business and had a family as well. And to be that motivated, you have to have something to drive you, and it would be the race or something like this. It's something at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And now, but now I move to age gracefully and to be strong and to be able and to play with my son and my daughter who are 14 and 12. Like my 14-year-old daughter is running cross country, and to go for a run with her. And when I was cycling, I couldn't run. Like my ankles were just all so stiff and I couldn't squat, I couldn't move. And so now I go for a run so that I can keep going for a run with her. Like twice a week, we go for a run together. And like, that's like the joy of my life to go for that run with her. Yeah. So that's why I move now. That's why I'm motivated because I'm like, if I don't keep doing this, I won't be able to keep doing it.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you hit the nail on the button there. If we were to like re-ask the question, is competitiveness a good thing or a bad thing? It's good because it drives you. Most people
Yeah.
are not going to do those 5 a.m. and then again 11 p.m. sessions twice a day, perfect nutrition, perfect sleep, doing everything in their life to ensure they're maximizing performance, unless they have this real urge to either prove themselves in the field or court or turf or race or trail, whatever sport they're doing.
Yeah.
And you need that like fire inside you, that competitiveness to make you do that. Otherwise, what's your motivation? On the flip side of things, what you just said about running with your daughter, that's the real goal for the non-athletic population. When I say
Yeah.
non-athletic population, I mean people who are not playing rugby, frisbee, football, soccer on their weekends like me, like
Yeah.
I do. But if you can lift you know, the groceries over your head and put them in the fridge, if you can carry your kids around, if you can keep up with your dogs and your kids, and when you're that grandpa, you know, you're pretty young. You say the day you get old is the day you stop working, right? You're healthy,
Yeah.
you're young. But if you're 80 years old and you're still keeping up with your grandkids, it means that you're doing something right. So
Yeah.
putting sports and putting competitiveness out of the equation for a second, we as humans want to make sure that we have a movement rich lifestyle that allows us to keep up with life and not be that guy in the wheelchair living off whatever government support. We should be killing it till age. We don't have to be the fastest, we don't have to be the strongest, and I'm pretty young, and it took me a few years to realize that I don't have to be the strongest, baddest dude out there. I can just be me and be Barefoot John who plays frisbee in the park, and I'm still strong, I'm still functional. I'm not going to turn into a mashed potato by not killing myself in the gym 6 days a week. It took,
That's right. Yeah.
and I'm only a quarter century years old. Like I jumped on the train a little bit early. You know what I mean? So anything to add to that? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's true because with the kids, like for me now, like for them, I think, you know, they play soccer on the weekends and they don't have the huge drive that I had. And that's fine because most humans aren't going to be going for that. And so I think that's where I come from when I say competitive is not helpful, because it's helpful for that elite few, really. The rest, it's having a balanced life is far more important, you know, to be able to relax about what you eat, to be relaxed and not like an athlete for your day-to-day life. That's far more important. And if it means you don't live to 95 and you only live to 90 because you had a few too many drinks too often, I don't know what, you know, like that's okay because you enjoyed your life, you know. I think that's more important, and you were a good person and you loved your fellow human, you know.
Yeah, like a good, I don't want to tie religion into here too much, but like assuming that you believe in God or, you know, believe in some sort of like higher power, paradise. So like, let's say, you know, you're going to get to heaven. God's not going to be like, how big are your biceps, or like how calloused are your feet from barefoot running. He's going to be assuming, you know, once again, everyone could interpret this in their own version of God, but like assuming that there's an afterlife, he's going to be like, were you a good person? Were you a kind human being? Did you leave a legacy in the world? Like, are your kids happy? Are your grandkids happy? Are your friends and colleagues? What do they say about you? You know what I mean? So it's really not about bodybuilders, right? They spend their life dedicating themselves to the biggest, baddest dude out there, and they rot in the grave with the rest of us. They spend 5 hours in the gym every day, and like the quality of their life sucks. Like I have friends. I don't really work with bodybuilders much, but I do have colleagues who spend, you know, hours in the gym every day, perfect counting their macronutrients, nutrition. They're waking up every 3 hours by sleeping for their like competition, and it's like, you might look muscular, but hey, you're like dysfunctional, like zero mobility, but that's not even what I'm talking about. They're just not enjoying life. And if you're not enjoying life to the fullest, and I don't mean like abusing drugs or abusing alcohol, like you said about drinks. I mean, enjoying life, enjoying the bad things within reason, and enjoying life to the fullest with a movement rich lifestyle, because movement is fun for most people. You know, that's really the key.
And I think I have regrets because I was cycling so hard when my kids were young, and I didn't have time for them. Like if my son asked me to sit on my shoulders, I'd be like, "Nah, my legs are tired," you know. Or if my wife said, "Let's go for a walk," I'd say, "Nah, my legs are tired." Like it was all about this one thing, and I think I can now look back and go, that wasn't healthy. But I think today's athlete is more more rounded as well. Like they are making sure they're doing, you know, a bit more rounded than I was. I was definitely
I've actually noticed a pattern of athletes, like as their career is either ending or over, they come to some sort of epiphany that the importance of life is no longer being like, you know, the most competitive or the most baddest or the most strongest or fastest or winning first place. They realize that family is important. And I like a lot of people that like Ben Greenfield or Michael Matthews, like books I read, I see their journey, whether it's through their Instagram or their books or their blogs, how they go from this like super competitive dude like you and me to like, oh wow, like it's much more important for me to carry my girl on my shoulders than be like super, my legs are killing because I can't ride. And if you tie that into like, if 90% of the time you're in a state of fatigue because you're training so hard, you're overtraining. If you can't carry the groceries home because you're sore, stop going to the gym. Like tone it down. And for all those like gym rats like me who play 70 sports a week and go to the gym, you can't do that all year long. You really can't. Like it depends on goals. If you're playing tackle rugby, contact rugby, and flag football and whatever, and all these different sports, you obviously have to put, at least in my philosophy, you do have to put in the strength and power work, because I'm not a purist. I do believe in the strength work, but there's only so much you can beat up your body again and again. So if you're going to be playing all these sports and carrying your kids home and doing the gym, like, something has to be periodized and structured better to ensure that you're actually letting your body repair itself.
Yeah, and I would usually perform best when I got a bit sick, about a month, or I was injured or something, like I'd fallen off and I had to have time off. And then when I came back, I would be in great form because I was generally overtraining.
Because you recovered. Yeah. Well, speaking of recovery,
there's a great there was a great Olympian. His name was Ralph Dubell, who's an 800-meter runner. He won the Mexico 800 meters. I think that's 1972 or 68. Anyway, I think I got the years wrong. But no, that's right. Anyway, he actually got sick or got injured leading into the Olympics and won because for the first time ever he freshened up.
Yo, athletes out there, Olympians, take this message. If most Olympians are coming in a tired state to their grand competition, their performance is suffering.
Well, they're not now. I think they're not. I think they've got it managed now, don't you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, they do, because they have coaches who know how to periodize and really taper their workouts as they get to their finale. But people always think oh, let me get one more training session in before. No. Go sit on the couch, or don't sit on the couch. Go sit on the floor and go eat ice cream and enjoy life.
I think this touches on something else. I had issues with eating as well, so I'd eat a lot, and then I felt like I had to train to accommodate the fact that. So I think there are a lot of stuff going on for me, and I'm just trying to guide my kids through being as balanced as possible.
Yeah. I mean, you're a pretty good dad. I see your interactions with your doggies and your kids, so you get my stickers. Anyways,
I'm making up for lost time.
Yeah, well, I'm happy that I have role models out there like you, because I don't have kids yet except the animals, and I know that one day when I have kids, I can learn from everyone's mistakes and know what to do right and what to do wrong. And I really, really want to jump into, the Barefoot life, because you are a Barefoot podiatrist. I'm a Barefoot, performance coach, and we could speak about this for 7 hours, and I'm good, I'm chill. But when someone comes to me and says, Sean, why are you this hipster dude who's always, or hippie, I don't even know, who's always walking around barefoot and getting everyone to walk barefoot and hiking barefoot and training barefoot? You're a weirdo. I say to them, it's okay. I am a weirdo. And if you're a Harry Potter fan, one of my favorite quotes is, being different isn't a bad thing. It means they're brave enough to be yourself. So I'm me with my dirty, calloused feet, and I'm sitting in an ice bath. And if you don't like it, then please unfollow me. But I explained to them, Barefoot life has nothing to do with me being this hippie dude. It has everything to do with, I care about my body. I care about my ability to perform, and I want to perform at my very best. And shoes are damaging to us. And I'm going to shut up now and hand the mic to you for you to delve into why Barefoot life is the best thing for your performance and longevity and health.
I think it's more helpful if you just ask me questions and I answer.
Okay, so Q&A, let's do it. So let's speak athletes, right? So I play contact rugby, which wear cleats. I play football, which wears cleats. I play frisbee. Frisbee, we're normally barefoot because we're in the park. Volleyball, shoes. All these sports, we wear very, very narrow, stiff cleats or shoes. And these are damaging. Why?
So our foot should have a natural splay. So that the widest part of the foot is from the tip of the big toe to the tip of the little toe, like our babies' feet are like that. And when we squash them, they don't function properly. And so there's a bit of an argument around those field sports, because the field athletes are saying, oh no, I need this tightness of my foot because otherwise I don't have control of my foot. And the argument is, well, one, the field sports, if we go back a step, aren't actually a natural movement or a natural element anyway. But if you'd never been in a shoe that got you used to being tight like this, then you would function beautifully with your foot splayed like that. It's only because you got used to it. It's like if I was on my bike and then suddenly put the saddle to a different height, I'd be like, no, that's not right. I haven't been used to it, And so it's only because they're used to it, that argument comes. And so I don't really go with that argument. I think if we start from scratch, like put our kids into shoes that allow their foot to move properly, they'll never have a problem with their feet in terms of not being able to feel the ground, not being able to feel the ball, or not being able to move properly. When we squish our toes, because that's the main issue with footy boots, we squish our toes. And they're quite stiff as well, but some are flexible, so that's not as big a deal. But when we squish them, it creates change all the way up the chain. So your ankle, your knee, like all the muscles are not working as they're designed to move. As soon as you push the big toe sideways, you are losing a huge benefit from functioning properly. And really, people are functioning well, because that's the other argument. They're like, oh, but look, Ronaldo, he's amazing. He can function with these shoes. It's like he's doing it in spite of the fact that he's wearing those shoes. It shows he's even a greater athlete, you know? If he could actually tap into his natural function, he'd be even better off. And some elite athletes are awake to this. You see them training barefoot. You see them working, you know, or they're in a minimalist shoe the rest of the time. So maybe an elite soccer player is in a soccer boot 10 hours a week. So there's like 70 other hours during your week where you could be either barefoot or in a minimalist shoe. And that is a great combination, because then you still got what you're used to in your sport, but the rest of the time you're looking after your foot health. You'll be training barefoot, you're doing all these different things. So, you know, there are ways around it. I don't know, did that even answer that? I could waffle on, seriously, for a long time.
It totally answered it. And I also want to give a teeny bit more background for those who are like, whoa, I never heard of this barefoot thing before. Could you elaborate? So just to like clarify, just to clarify between like cleats and regular shoes. So like the whole barefoot life, most shoes are, I'm just going to summarize, even though you're the guy to do it, I'm just going to say it really quick. Sneakers, right? They have this thick cushion, they have arch support, they have a heel, they have a narrow toe box. They're usually very rigid. Cleats, or footy shoes, as our Aussie gentlemen would call it, most cleats are zero drop. So most of them don't have a heel. So that already, like, okay, no heel, great. They're usually pretty stiff, because like when you're running, and it's called rate of force development, you want to be pushing off the floor as hard as possible. So the theory behind cleats, and I don't agree with it, from like, I literally take people to the field and I say, take off your shoes for the sprint drills. You want to stiff like think of running or sprinting like a ball. If the ball is deflated, it won't really bounce off the floor. If the ball is strong and full with air, you'll push off the floor hard. So the reasoning behind cleats is I want this like stiff sole that can like push off the floor. So I say, hey, shoe manufacturers, you know what's also stiff? Your foot. Your foot can stiffen very, very nicely. I can out jump and out sprint people barefoot all the time. Once again, not trying to show up, but it takes time to build that ability. I can't do it on rocks, I can't do it on thorns, but I can do it on a field or turf. The biggest issue of the cleat, as Andy said, is the narrow toe box. And the main issue with that, and I'm just like giving a visual, if my big toe is right here, hell yeah, toe socks. Look at that. The toe is supposed to function like this. My big toe does a lot of the work when sprinting and running. I'm sorry I'm taking over your job for a second. And first of all, most people's feet are like this because of shoes. But cleats literally push the big toe in. And I've done like a gait analysis, like on video. People who have that big toe spread, their form is perfect, obviously after the toe. People whose toes are squished in, they can't sprint efficiently. They're leaking torque everywhere, their knees caving in, their hips caving in, as Andy's like, I've seen it on slow motion videos as facts. With all this being said, when you're playing a game like tackle football or rugby, I'm stupid. I play full contact rugby in Vivo barefoot soft ground shoes. And then I get cleated. And then my foot is black and blue for a week. Cleated is when someone steps on you.
I know.
But if I'm playing a competitive game, meaning I'm playing like a real tackle football game against another team, for Team Israel or for rugby or whatever it is, I will wear a cleat. I haven't gotten to that point yet. In fact, I haven't worn a non-barefoot shoe for over 3 years. Woo. It's like being clean of drugs, and it's amazing. It's changed my life. But if I were to be playing a game, I would wear like an extra wide cleat, even though the toe box tends to be more on the narrow side, just to give my foot space. Because 99% of the time I'm living the barefoot life. So if I wear shoes for 1 hour, it's like chucking back a few whiskeys and then it's recovering from it. It's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, I'm not trying to take your job. I'm trying to like share my
No, I want you to talk about that, because you said it just as well as I would. I'd take twice as long.
I really want to delve into like let's say, okay, so you're the athlete out there, you're wearing your regular cleats for games, fine. We forgive you. All's good. But let's speak about the 90% of the time. Let's speak about you're at home, you're walking, you're taking out the garbage, you're running, you're training. Why is it so important to train barefoot? Why can't I just wear like sneakers or whatever, or flat? Even a lot of gym shoes are zero drop, but they have that narrow toe box. Can we dive into that a bit?
Yeah, so if you're trying to maximize your function and get your body working as well as it should, you should give it every opportunity. And so if you're standing on a heel, you're using a compensation, you're not getting the maximum out of your ankle joint range of motion. It's changing your whole posture all the way up. Or if you're squishing your big toe, like when we push off through our big toe and ground down through our big toe, it lights up the inside line of our foot, our calf, all the way up into our adductors and our pelvic floor, so we function the way we should. So, you might wear a weight belt to try and create some abdominal pressure there, but if you're just pushing through your big toe and backing off the weights, you can get the same effect by using your body as it's naturally meant to do. And then that crosses over to going to pick up your kids, because you don't have a weight belt on when you're picking up your kids or when you're doing some other functional activity. So, it's all about using your body as it's designed to be, basically. That's the way I see it. I look at every client and go, okay, how would this foot, if I'd never put in a shoe and then lived a movement-rich, movement-variable life, how would this person have coped with this foot type, and how do I bring it back to that to some extent? And obviously we never go back, we can't undo time, but we can, get people moving better generally. And it often is by getting them out of those shoes. Like you said before, all cleats are flat. And I know there are some now for people that have got Achilles problems that have a heel lift. But this is because the footballers, and if you look at the start of our Aussie rules season, they all get calf injuries, hamstring injuries, because they've done a pre-season in a heeled shoe, a heeled cushioned shoe, and then they go and start doing their competitive stuff in a flat, stiff shoe, and it just doesn't make any sense at all. If they were in their flat shoe at least for day-to-day wear, then their calves would be at a nice natural length, and then they wouldn't have the problem of going into a shoe that's so stiff. And this is what happened to my son. Before I'd become a barefoot podiatrist, he got the growing pain of a heel pain. Young boys get it when they're active young boys, but he was in a heeled shoe. He was wearing orthotics. I put him in orthotics because I thought that's what we had to do, That's what podiatrists are trained to do. They see something that's not ideal and they try and make it ideal. And so he'd go to school all day in a heeled cushioned shoe with an orthotic in, and then he'd go play soccer in a flat shoe, and his heels get aggravated because there's so much tension on his calf, because all week there's no tension on his calf. And so again, the podiatrist will say, the old podiatrist in me says, let's put a heel lift in the footy boot to take even less pressure off the calf. Hey, how about taking away everything else, like during the week, so he goes flat during the week, and then when he's playing on the weekend, he doesn't have an issue, and he's a more functional human being for it.
Yeah, and parents and educators and coaches out there, we're not trying to push you to the extreme and say start, running marathons barefoot. I think that's a huge mistake that people make. Like they get the Vibrams 5 shoes, they go from their maximalist footwear to their minimalist footwear, and they're like, my feet hurt after. No shit, your feet hurt after. If you work out for 10 hours in the gym in a row, your whole body will hurt out after as well. Yeah. Everything has to be done within reason. And the biggest step you can do, and I say this to all my clients, no extremes, take your shoes off at home, start walking barefoot. Your kids, if you work with like youth athletes, that's the best time to affect them. Take off the shoes for the warm up. You want to put their cleats on after, all is good. But by allowing your foot to function properly, you're literally hacking life. And there's not so many life hacks. Like there's no shortcuts. But if you can remove the things which are damaging you, like sitting and sitting too much and wearing, these shoes that are cutting off from mobility, you are only benefiting yourself.
And they shouldn't even be life hacks. They should just be norms. It's just that we've just become so used to, and it's like a whole cultural thing that the foot needs support. Like, well, tell me what other part of the body needs long-term support from the age of 4. There's nothing. Basically, the message to new mothers is to put your child in a wide, thin, flat, flexible shoe, because the foot's developing as they are learning to walk.
Right.
Why does that change once they go off to kindergarten or preschool and they go into the little Nikes, the little Asics, the little Brooks? You see them if you go to the kindergarten. They're all in these little shoes. because it's the good shoe. It's supportive because there's this narrative from society that your foot needs support from when they're 4 years of age, and it does not make any sense at all. The foot would never need support unless it only needs it in the long term because you supported it when it was in its developmental stage.
Yeah.
And I saw a kid yesterday. This is another topic, but his rear foot everts, like it tips in a bit. And when he's walking, he's a 7-year-old. He's quite mobile, like hyperactive, like moving a lot, And I don't even have to do an analysis of his movement. I just watch him playing in my treatment room, running around, jumping, and I might do a bit with him. And I'm saying, look to his mum, and look at this. Your kid is a highly functional child. Yet he's been to a podiatrist recently who said, oh, look, his feet are tipping in. This is grinding his knees away. He's going to have knee arthritis by the time he's 15. And the kid's hearing this as well. This is very negative talk. It's not helpful to anyone. And if you give him the right input, which is movement-rich and movement-variable lifestyle, he will develop beautifully. He may never look perfect, like this perfect anatomical, but who is? There's no one, apart from you, Sean, who's perfectly anatomical, functional or looking. And so if we support him now, like that other podiatrist is suggesting, he's just going to get weak in these positions and never, ever be able to get out of them or find it a lot harder. Whereas if we just let him be now, like that was mind-blowing. And for the mum to, and like, so my job there is not to give him therapy for like hands-on therapy or exercises. It's just saying, lead a movement-rich life, lead a movement-variable life. I'm telling his mum, the kid just does it naturally because that's what kids do. Don't have it, if he's playing at home, make sure he's on the floor, like not sitting at a table. Keep him in flat shoes, like minimalist shoes. And mate, hey mate, to the kid, your feet are great. Look at you. You can jump, you can run. Look how fast you are. Like I'm telling him, his body is perfect. Like you have got a great functional body because he's just been someone down the road who said, you're broken at 7, like that just breaks my heart.
You're broken, and here for only $9.99, I can fix you.
Anyway, that's enough.
Yeah. Dude, like I see. Okay, so
Right.
I see a lot of kids.
And here it is for the.
I see. Can you hear me? I see a lot of kids who are their knees are like collapsing in and they're bow-legged, and their parents are like, oh no, they're bow-legged. We have to go to a doctor and a podiatrist and orthopedist. No. Your kid's still developing. Oh, hi, cutie. The same way that when you take like an athlete to the gym, a 15-year-old who's never trained and moved before, he's going to be awkward when he squats. He's going to be awkward when he presses. You have to teach the kid movement patterns. Now, what's beautiful about little kids, they learn it themselves if you don't restrict them. So as you said, if you allow them to run around the park, take their shoes off in the grass. If you're taking your kid to the park, to obviously, a safe area, no glass, no poop, or poop's actually okay, immunity. Take his shoes off. If you're putting these like chunky Timberlands on him, it's a crime. It's a crime, parents. Really, I'm not a crazy person. I'm just a dude who's trying to make change, and Andy's on my page. Take your kids' shoes off, please. Allow their feet to develop. And next time someone gets in the conversation, but you must have insole support to help them develop. Otherwise, they're going to get flat feet. Please do your research before you say bullshit, okay? I'm not an aggressive person, but please don't quote bullshit to me. Like, if we're going to have a conversation professional to professional, stop making up stuff. Bring your research. People all the time we've adopted to like a maximalist shoe lifestyle, so barefoot shoes are bad for you. What are you saying? Like, do the research, look it up, look at the different studies, and look at kids' development, and then start saying like fancy theories. I had yesterday, a friend of mine was like, oh, I see you, like you're always barefoot, blah, blah, blah. But I heard this theory that because over the years we adopted to shoes, so we no longer need to like it's actually better to wear shoes. Like, because over the year I adopted to like wearing a body cast. So like, because over the year we're all obese, so maybe we should just sit on the couch and eat McDonald's all day.
Yeah. And we're talking about tens of thousands of years of being without shoes that we wear now, and like 50 years of shoes that we wear now. Like even in the early 60s, people were still wearing a more athletic shoe, like a more flexible shoe. Right. It's only in the last 60 years that we started wearing these maximalist shoes. It's just obscene. Yeah. So I was going to say something else. It reminded me of something else, but I've forgotten already.
All good.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. If it comes up, let me know.
Yeah.
I
So
was doing. Yeah, go ahead.
with the kids, when you said, oh, that's right. So when other health professionals say we need to support them so they get strong with an arch and all this, it's what we're taught. So they don't even have. It's all you know. Like you go from high school to university, and at university, that's what you're told. This is what we do as a podiatrist. We support and correct. You know, I still have that in me. I see a kid like this, and I'm like, okay, what would I have usually done? I would have stuck something under it, you know. And so it's all they know, and so I don't even blame them because they don't know any better.
Right.
But what I don't stand for is if someone's saying something different. Like if I come along and say, look, have you tried these minimalist shoes? Have you thought about pushing your big toe sideways and what that does to the function of your foot? Have you thought about what happens when you put a heel on your shoe and maximize it throws in pronation more and all stuff? And so once it's been put to them and then they don't do anything about it, then I think that then they've got responsibility to actually at least look into it. And the best way to do that is actually try it yourself. But you could ask 100 podiatrists, have you ever worn a minimalist shoe? And maybe 2 have. They just don't even go there because it's just not a thing, you know? And so this is why I think the whole Instagram place is interesting, because I have podiatrists that aren't practicing like me, following me, and I know they don't agree with what I'm saying, but they refuse to, they don't take the bait, which is fine. I don't want an argument on Instagram. But I just think it's interesting that they're seeing all this information that I put out there. I'm not lying. I'm just telling the truth. And they can still go to work and do the exact opposite every day. Like, I just don't get that.
So this ties into like the next podcast episode, which we can do, which is about like, you know, the lies of big pharma, like really the way, not just big pharma, but education, like doctors. Yeah. And this is like, I'll touch on it a bit. And I've done podcasts on this about Eastern versus Western medicine. When you go to a doctor, he or she most of the time will say, okay, what's hurting you? Okay, let me block out the pain. What's hurting you? Let me chop it up. What's hurting you? Let me put a Band-Aid in it. Whereas like guys like you and me, what's hurting you? What's causing the pain?
Yeah.
What's causing your back pain? What is causing? Maybe you need to move more. Maybe you need to ditch your shoes. Maybe you need to sit less. Maybe you need to eat better. Maybe you need to do some mobility. Maybe you need to strength train. I've seen like 100% success rate with back pain. And I'm not talking about like chronic back pain or like severe, like life-threatening stuff. I'm talking about like someone comes to me with pain, few weeks of strength training and mobility, their pain's gone, surprise. And I don't even need to like analyze fancy shit. I just start strength training with them. I assess their movements and then they're stronger and they stop having pain. And that's the first goal in the gym. First thing, take your shoes off, let's train, let's get stronger. And their pain disappears. You go to a doctor, he'll be like, all right, rest for 6 months, put it in a break, take some painkiller, let's do surgery. And I'm not like trying to bash the Western system, but that's the truth. Why? Not the doctor's fault. It's the education system's fault. Because 7 years, this medicine for that, this medicine for that. I've spoken to nurses. I've spoken to health practitioners. I said, what's in this like vaccine you're putting in everybody? I don't know. So why are you giving it to people? Because that's what we were told to do. How do you put something in someone that you don't know what's in there? It's a greater conversation to be had, but like this whole system is a system of following blindly, blind trust in the medical world. And hey, I'm not a medical professional, but I'm a movement professional. I know the body, and doctors have told me, you know more than us when it comes to movement. Why? Because this is what I study and this is what I specialize in. I came to a doctor with a torn quad. Oh, I'll delve into injury world, how I got to the barefoot world. I got there through injury. I spent 10 months training for my tackle football season. I did everything right. I spent, at least from my understanding, I ate well, I slept well, I recovered well. I spent 4 days every week in the gym, lifting hard and heavy, strength, power, mobility. I was doing the agility, I was doing the speed training, I was doing the plyometrics, rate of force development. I came to the field to be the best person on the team. And the year before, like I was still new to football. That year I became captain. I would like led the defense. Like I was like the dude. 2 games in, I broke my rib. 3 games in, I sprained my ankle. 4 games in, I tore my quad. 5 games in, I tore my LCL. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Something's up. I literally said to myself, my legs aren't functioning like they should. And it made no sense to me because even though it's tackle football and it's competitive, it's not like the NFL. It's not like the level of America. And I trained, so I outworked and outperformed everybody in the field. It didn't make sense to me that I was getting hurt so much while everyone is staying healthy. Not that I was jealous. And then I realized, this was like 2 years ago, I had an enlightening. I was wearing cleats that are already stiff and narrow, half a size too small.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
whatever like narrow smushiness I already, and I was wearing an insole in it as well. I was wearing a carbon insole for like enhanced performance. That's what came with the cleat.
Yeah.
So like I'm taking my beautiful feet, which just spent 8 months, mostly, you know, in the gym. I usually trained barefoot anyways, even before I was on the barefoot lifestyle. And I was taking my beautiful feet and I was smushing them into something that was not just thick and narrow, but even smaller than it should
Yeah.
be for a regular feet. And an insole which stuffed it up, and my feet would kill after practice. I would sprint and I would come first in sprints every time, but my feet would kill. I felt like I was swollen, like I couldn't explain it. And if I look at my injuries, so like the thing that was affected the most were my big toe and my pinky toe. And
Yeah.
like I tore my LCL, which is a direct line from my pinky toe. I tore my quad, my lateral head, like the ITB, which is a direct line from my pinky toe. And then when I did like the Foot Collective seminar like a couple years ago, I'm like, that's why I was getting injured. Now people are gonna like dismiss this, but no, because I still play contact sports. I play every week. I play contact rugby. I play 2-and-touch rugby. I play football, flag football. I wear minimalist shoes. And since I've gone to Barefoot Life, thank God, yeah, that shouldn't happen. I haven't gotten injured once. No sprained ankles, no knees, no quads, nothing. And I push my body to its limits with contact sport every week, and I haven't gotten hurt. And I'm not training as hard as I was then. So there's something this hocus pocus that we're talking about.
Just back on that medical professional stuff.
Yeah.
So my mum's got some back pain at the moment.
Yeah.
She's been diagnosed in the past with fibromyalgia, which is like a mythical creature. I don't know if you know much about it, but it's basically pain that moves around. There's a lot of psychosocial stuff going on with it. But she's always in pain somewhere, but now it's her back. So she goes to her GP, who sends her off to the orthopedic surgeon. And the orthopedic surgeon, and she's telling him the symptoms, and he's like, oh no, the referral's for your sacrum, not for your lumbar, so I can't talk to you about that. And she's like, what? This is for my back. Like, and so this is his way of dealing with her chronic pain. He just goes, oh, I'm not dealing with that because the referral's only for one part of your body, not the other part, which is right alongside it. That's how, you know, and then he's sending her for an MRI. And yeah, the MRI, it will show her, she's in her 70s. It's going to show up a whole lot of stuff because she's in her 70s and she's got back pain. Not because she's got back pain, just because she's got an aged back, you know? So my fear now is that surgeon will go, oh, look, you've got this, this, and this going on. Let's go and do some surgery. Just because it's probably got nothing to do with it. I say, Mum, what makes your back feel better? She's like, oh, when I don't sit too long, when I move around. I'm like, hello, hello, just move. She goes, oh, it's not hard to me. It's not easy to be moving all the time. I'm like, well, if it stops you being in pain, yeah, it is, just move, you know? It blows me away. Another story that I thought of when you were talking about that is my, I had a client come in 2 years into being a general practitioner. This is the doctor you go to that is for the common cold, you know, like the general practitioner. And she said she started having foot pain over the last 6 months. And I said, okay, so what happened before those 2 years? Oh, I was doing the rounds. I was moving around the hospital. I was an intern, you know, moving all day. And what's your life look like now? I just sit at a desk all day. This is like a 27-year-old who's got foot pain from running twice a week. And she's a GP. People are going to her for health advice. And I'm like, okay, so maybe this has got something to do with why that you're not moving now, that you're just sitting all day. Like, what else has changed? Nothing else has changed. There's no other big issue going on. I'm having to tell this to the general practitioner that people go to for health advice. Like, it just blew me away, you know? And that's the system that we're living in. It doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of money behind it, and it's a university centric thing. That's why the Foot Collective is a big deal, because Nick has come out with this idea, the Foot Nerd program, which is looking at the 5 pillars of health, as you know, through Clayton. He's part of the Foot Collective. And this is where anyone that's part of it can put back into it, feeding back into this education system. So we're constantly on the forefront of knowing what the latest thing is, or what the best way to deal with something is for yourself, you know, like not relying on people, and then being able to teach that to others. And then as far as podiatry goes, there's something called natural podiatry, which is going to be quite similar, where there's podiatrists like me And there's a guy in the States, lovely lady in London, and then Nick in Canada, coming up with a curriculum for other podiatrists to be able to become like, work like I do, basically, with a natural focus. And then we can all keep putting back into that curriculum. Anyone that comes part, like everyone's doing their own thing at the moment and not together. We want everyone to come together so that we can all be doing the best thing for our clients, and, you know, and make a difference that way, rather than, you know, just be stuck in your, like, we're black sheeps of the podiatry family, you know, no one wants to talk to us. We don't want to talk to anyone else really, because you just get laughed at. So if we can at least form a little group of our own where we can at least share our ideas, then we can start to progress the profession. That's the idea.
I mean, community, I mean, that's why I'm happy I met you. I'm not a podiatrist, but I'm honored and privileged to be part of this international community that we're growing, where we can grow, you know, health and movement first. And with that being said, I always think, what if we went to a doctor? I really go to doctors, but if I have to, what if instead of giving me medicine, what if they assessed my movement and my nutrition? What if they said, are you moving? Are you eating well? Instead of like MRIing my back, you know, that can change, that can change the way, that can change life.
Yeah. Even if the GP just said that, like, just brought focus to a client's, oh, what are you eating? Oh, and they're like, what's this got to do with my back? Suddenly they're thinking in a different way. So that's next time they go to Macca's, they're like, maybe I shouldn't be here because maybe this has got something to do with my back. It's just like connecting the dots, isn't it? Sleep hygiene, you know, move, all these things. Anyway, I'm preaching to the converted, and you are as well.
Well, before we move on to our favorite topic, doggies, is there someone who's like transitioning to barefoot? You know, he hears what we're saying. He's like, oh, there's something to this. Can you give them like one, if you can summarize it to one tip? I want to start being barefoot. I'm scared to start running barefoot. I'm scared to step on glass. What do I do? How can I transition to this beautiful world of restoring my function and foot health?
I would say there's this beautiful table that my friend Sean made up, and it's got like month 1, month 2, month 3, and I'd say look at Sean up on Instagram, and there's this table there, and this is the perfect way to transition.
Okay, so I appreciate that a lot. Could you give one of your own original wisdoms? Although I appreciate that a lot.
And I asked them first and foremost, what do you wear at home? Like you said before, I say, what do you wear at home? And a lot of people are barefoot, especially through COVID at home. Oh, how does that feel? Oh, my feet feel better when I'm barefoot. Like, so often I hear that. Okay, well, let's start thinking about the next step. And then the next step for most people is to look at their day-to-day shoe, not their athletic shoe, not their work shoe, their day-to-day shoe. Let's start with that one and just go from there, you know, and just be really gentle with yourself. Some people do, like I saw a guy yesterday, 4 weeks in, and he's gone from maximalist shoes with orthotics to minimalist shoes within 4 weeks, no issues, unbelievable. But he's a highly functional guy, you know, like he's doing capoeira, he's doing yoga, he's doing gym training, like highly functional. But for most people, they might need to take it a bit more easy, and they might need to look at some other habitual things, like rolling a ball when you're brushing your teeth, like sitting less, like sitting on the floor. Like I've been sitting on the floor for since we've been talking, and my hips are feeling like they've been in a yoga class, you know? So there's so many different little tips, and it's really is individual. But this is my job now. I just see people that want to do this, and I just like guide them on their path. But it's usually a lot more simple than some people make out.
Yeah, it's funny because we're both in different realms of movement, but we preach the same shit.
Right, yeah.
Take your shoes off, move more, mobilize more. And I look, I'm also sitting on the floor. I'm in a bath at the moment, but like I'm on the floor. I look at floor sitting and barefoot life as, once again, I look at these life hacks. They shouldn't be life hacks, but if the daily norm is to sit on a couch slouched over and to wear shoes, then by being that 1% of the world who doesn't sit on the couch, you're automatically getting passive mobility. And the reason for that is because the floor is uncomfortable. So you're going to constantly be moving positions. Since I've been in this out bath for an hour, I'm going from kneeling to lying to sitting to my legs stretched out. And you're not tightening your legs up in this unnatural way, which is what a chair does. And by doing that, once again, athletes, performance athletes, you're giving yourself an advantage, because instead of having to spend 30 minutes, an hour mobilizing every day for a workout, you get the free mobility right now. Right now, I'm floor sitting and I'm getting a good hamstring stretch. as my feet are nice and up on the thing, and my spine's in an upright position, and I'm not slouched over. I'm in a nice upright posture. So like, if you're spending these hours, beating at your craft every day, why ruin your body in the 8 hours that you're not? The same way that you're going to eat healthy and sleep well, sit on the floor more, and lead a movement-rich lifestyle, even if you're training, and take your shoes off, because that's part of recovery. That's part of the work that you have to put in. That's not in the curriculum, but it's so important. I actually did an interesting podcast on this with a soccer performance coach who lives in Florida. Her name's Fit Soccer Queen, and we delved into, like, we called it the secret weapon of athletes. We spoke about like sunshine, movement, earthing, barefoot, grounding. We didn't speak anything about performance. We spoke about all things you can do out of the gym and out of your training, and which can,
they're all the measured things, aren't they? They're all the measured things. These are the immeasurables.
Right.
And like Djokovic, or whenever Djokovic gets to a new time zone, he takes his shoes off and walks on the earth. This is like a hack of the greatest. Oh, the dogs are fighting now. Can we talk about dogs?
Hell yeah, dogs. Oh, hi, doggies. Oh, that's so cute. Yo, I'm coming to this. The second this COVID stuff is over, I'm on the way. I want to bring Charlie, but I don't want to put him on a plane for 25 hours. He won't survive, and I'm definitely not sedating him or chopping his thingies off. None of that stuff.
Well, we need to talk about that. We need to talk about whether your dog is an extension of your own manhood. Maybe.
So yeah, dog. So for those who don't know, I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I have a border collie who I love dearly, who's a son of mine. And Andy here has two Kelpies who they're pretty athletic dogs. In fact, if you look at the list of dogs, these two breeds that we have are the most intelligent, most athletic, and just smartest dogs out there. And for me, Charlie's my baby. Andy actually gave me a lot of advice about, training tips and how to care for him. And man, dogs are the best thing ever.
Yeah. So well, you know what, we compare them, but really the Kelpie and the Border Collie come from the same place.
Right.
And they just bred the short-haired Border Collie more and more into what we have here as the Kelpie. Mm-hmm. But they're a very similar dog.
I personally, I look at Charlie as, even though I was leading a very, very active lifestyle before Charlie, he, along with the Foot Collective seminar, they were the two things that completely changed my approach towards movement and health. And that's because when you're a dog owner, you're suddenly responsible for a being that needs to be taken out every day, and not just walked. People think that dogs need to be walked. That's incorrect. I'm not saying that they don't need to be walked. What I'm saying is that dogs need to be engaged. They need to be played with. They need to be moved with. So,
especially our types of dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of like a 10-minute walk every morning and night. Hi, cuties. I wish I had Charlie with me now. Instead of taking that 10-minute walk with your dog, the dog needs to be run, sprinted, played with, cognitive awareness. So like, just owning a dog forces you, A, to get more movement, B, to get more quality movement, not just walking, but like running, sprinting, changing direction, throwing, catching. And it gives you more movement snacks. Because the dog has to be taken out several times a day or played with, it forces you to break your regimen, break from sitting on the computer, and engage them. And dogs are another life hack. So we can literally name this episode Life Hacks, because we spoke about movement, we spoke about, I don't even remember what we spoke about, but performance. But like, if you own a dog, you're automatically committing to a more movement-rich lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's for my whole family too. Well, not my son so much, but Gypsy, come here. Come here, Gypsy. Hello, big one.
I feel like I should bring Charlie, but then I'll have to put him in the bath, and I don't know, like, I'll just start splashing stuff over.
They're fighting again now. So they, like, with this type of dog, they will just sit down and do nothing, but really you'll pay for it later. They'll start playing up later, so every day my dogs get at least 2 walks, sometimes 3. And it means no matter what the weather, we are having to take them out, no matter what no matter what the time. If I have to get up super early because I can't take them to work that day, I get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever it does, I have to walk them, if no one else is going to be able to do it. And then to have them at work, I have an hour off for lunch, or sometimes 2 hours. And like, that's my favorite days, those 3 days a week where I get to take them to work, because then I have to have that long lunch break. Otherwise, I just work right through, and it's not good for me, you know. And to be walking is one of the best things we can do, really. Just even if it is just walking.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. If I just walk in the same place over and over again, the dog gets bored. I get bored as well. So we run them, we walk them, we throw the frisbee. I go to the local school and climb, and they eat all the kids' lunches from the last week that's been thrown around. You know, it is, and such a life hack to have dogs for the whole family if you can get the whole family involved. What I notice here is people get dogs and the kids want them and they say they'll do everything for them, and they don't. The adult starts. I got the dogs saying, these are for me, and I don't care if you guys do nothing. If you help, it's a bonus, but I'm responsible for these dogs. And that attitude means that when they do help the rest of the family, I'm like very grateful, rather than going, oh, you said you were going to do this and you're not doing it, you know. You've got to come from a place of gratitude and responsibility. Like, I got them because I wanted dogs, and I love them so dearly. It's unbelievable how much I can love. Not just these ones, just about any dog I love.
Yeah, I can't, you can't really put in words the love you feel for an animal. And I also think the relationship with an animal and human beings are slightly different, because the dog doesn't talk back. I mean, it talks to me all the time, but it's like, Charlie, want to go play rugby? Okay, Dad. Want to go play frisbee? Okay, Dad. It's like, he is my companion wherever I go. It's known. If Sean's hiking, he's with me. If I go to the grocery, he's with me. If I go to a barbecue, he's with me. Like it or not, Charlie's coming. 4th of July party, he's with me. A human will be like, nah, Dad, I don't want to go. What do you mean you don't want to go? We're going to the party, right? When you care for something, dogs do give affection, right? But when you care for someone and you're not getting so much return, obviously I enjoy his company. When you love something unconditionally like that, it makes you a better person. Like, ever since I started having Charlie, ever since I got him, a year and 3 months ago, I became a different human being. I became more patient. I became more loving. I became a better husband, a better friend, because I'm giving all this unconditional energy, all this unconditional love to a dog, which it licks my nose. He sticks his tongue up my nose every now and then, but like, he's not like giving back to me. You know what I mean? But it just, by giving unconditionally so much, you become this better person. And also, besides the walking and stuff, because I'm taking him out so much, like, I'm like, oh, I want to go on a hike because I want to take Charlie on a hike. So it's fun. And then I have to do more. And then I'm like, oh, I want to go Charlie to the forest nearby. And then I'm in nature more. And then, hey, I'm taking Charlie to the park. Let me take this time to gratitude journal. So it just turned this ritual. Instead of me like waking up in the morning and like, oh, I got to hit the gym. It's like, I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm going to go to the park with Charlie. I'm going to sit on the ground and earth and ground while I journal, while playing frisbee with him, while meditating Wim Hof, while in the ice bath. No. Too much stuff at once.
It's a slower lifestyle, isn't it? You have to take time. You have to take time out to do it.
Yeah.
And I see people looking on their phones while they're walking their dogs. I don't even listen to anything. I just walk and just think it's my time. It's my. People ask if I meditate. Well, I don't officially meditate, but when I'm walking my dogs, it's just me and them, or and it's and a oneness that you have with them.
It is meditation. Walking a dog is meditation.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. People think of meditation as like the classic, like Buddhist monk, like I'm sitting and being still. Nope. Meditation is whatever you make of it. It could be prayer, it could be walking, hiking, running, jogging, sitting on the ground, ice bath. Meditation is how you define it. Yeah.
And so and then also that they make you slow down, and you have to look out for someone. Like, I agree, I'm a much better person because of the love that. And I think the other thing is, it makes you realize how much love there is in the world to some extent, because I love this creature that I didn't know existed like 3 years ago so much. And then you think, oh, I couldn't get another one. I couldn't love it as much. You get another one, you can love it as much, And I think with children, you always want them to grow up. Like, and you're really proud of them when they start doing things that are more grown up and they're becoming more mature. Whereas a dog, you're guaranteed it's never going to grow up, and you're happy to look after it and clean up after its shit its whole life,
Right.
And so it's a very different thing. Like, children, you're always trying to push to be, not push, you're encouraging them to do better and to make the most of their lives. There's none of that influence on a dog. You have zero expectation on the dog pretty much, and that's a beautiful thing. Like, we can learn so much from them in terms of the way they play, in terms of the way we feel about them. Like, if we just did that to other people, not have those expectations, and then maybe we'd start getting unconditional love back from people as well, because you didn't put expectations on them. And just watching them play now, And when I picked up Kira before, and she squealed because I got her under her arm where she's been running, so she's a bit sore. And then straight away, Gypsy's like, "What's going? What's going?" As soon as there's something wrong with the other one, they're like, "Oh, sorry, I'll take it easy." It's like playing boundaries all the time. It's beautiful. Yeah,
dude. Like, I mean, there's so much to say about like our furry friends, but I've learned so much from Charlie. And keep in mind, we do have a rabbit, but rabbits are a little bit lower maintenance. They do have a personality, by the way. She's a free range rabbit.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we're gonna grill her.
Yeah.
It means that she's not in a cage. She just like hangs out all day. Besides the fact that rabbits aren't kosher, but she hangs out all day and she runs around and lives life. And animals, every animal, a mice, a rabbit, not a mice, a mouse, a dog, a cat, they should never be in a cage. They should be roaming free around the house, walking, running. And besides adding such a movement-rich lifestyle to my routine, like, because I'm like frisbeeing and throwing around and cognitive and tugging, like, let's pretend I wasn't a gym rat. I'd be getting all these movements every day, pulling, tugging, throwing, jumping, landing, going around, running around with him. He's pulling me as I'm walking, since he's a tugger. He's gotten a lot better, by the way, with a lot of training. He pulls me. So I'm resisting force. Like, I'm actually actively working my upper body to walk with him. I'm sprinting with him. I'm walking with him more. I've learned so much about human movement from him, because you look at him on a hike. When he's hot, he goes to the shade. He doesn't rub on sunscreen. He doesn't try to like push himself to his limits in the heat. He says, "Hey, Dad, I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to the heat now." When he's tired, he sits down and rests. When he's thirsty, he drinks. When he's hungry, he eats. So like all these warped human ideas of like, I'm gonna eat when I'm not hungry, or I'm gonna forget to drink. That doesn't exist in animal radar. Animal radar is survival. So if we could like tap into these dogs like lifestyle, they play, they move, they get restless if they don't play. They get restless. Humans get restless too. We just don't realize it because we're too busy watching the newest TV show on Netflix or Disney Plus or we're too busy distracting ourselves by life, by our phones and our TVs, to realize that we actually need movement to thrive. For them, movement isn't optional. Meaning, if Charlie rests, and right now he's inside, and I'm going to pay the price for that, which is right after this show, I'm going to take him to the beach for 5 hours, because instead of his usual morning ritual, he's sitting in the kitchen on the floor and he's chilling because he knows daddy's busy, mommy's busy. But the energy, that pent up energy that he needs to play is in him. And if I don't take him out today, it builds up to tomorrow. And if I don't take him out tomorrow, which I will, because Saturday is play with Charlie for 11 hours a day, Sunday, he's going to have all this energy. He's going to chase the rabbit. He's going to jump. He's going to go crazy. Dogs, like, last point on this, but like, if I don't take him out, he'll grab my rope. I have this rope in the outdoor area, and I'll start tugging it. He's like, "Dad, I need to exercise right now. I need to move right now. And movement isn't optional, so let me move." So if we had this approach as parents, and if we had this approach as educators, movement is not optional. Play right now. Maybe the world would be a better place. Maybe the world would be a healthier place. Sorry, I'm just getting passionate.
And after he's 5 hours at the beach, what does he do as soon as he comes home?
He rests. He sleeps. He recovers. They recover. They
beautiful.
They don't. Thanks for putting it there. They don't stay up late at night watching movies. It gets dark. He's like, "I'm out, Dad." It gets light. Go play. There's food. Go eat. Like, rest. And he doesn't rest on a couch. He rests on the floor. I'm not trying to go extreme, but like, he's so much more comfortable outside than in his like doggy bed. And it kind of ties into like the Barefoot life. Like, maybe there's something to it. Maybe dogs are meant to be on the dirt. He has a very comfortable doggy bed, don't get me wrong, but he loves being outside. He as far as he's concerned, he just wants to sleep outside in the garden. He doesn't even want to go inside.
That's interesting. My older one, she'd much prefer be outside. She's a warm, like, she'll be sitting on the couch and she starts going because she's a bit hot. She much prefers to be outside. There's a little one. The little one was brought up inside, and we only got her at 4 months, and and I think she might have some whippet in her as well. So they're very much, she wants to be alongside you. She wants to cuddle you all the time. I put them out at night, and she's like, "Are you serious? I'm seriously going to sleep out here, And so they sleep sometimes inside, sometimes outside, because I don't want to annoy. They have to be together, but I don't want to. I want them both to be happy at different times, But
you're like a daddy.
the big one definitely wants to be outside, and she's more of a hardcore dog, you know, like she's, how's the ice bath going?
I think I broke my record sitting in an ice bath,
Have
but
you peed in it yet?
but it's not. It's the ice melts, so like it gets warmer
Yeah,
as time
yeah.
passes. But I'm definitely like
What's the
sticking it up.
temperature there? What's the temperature there in Jerusalem?
It's
What's the
early
temperature?
morning,
Not
so
the
it's
bath.
like it's
Yeah,
early morning, so it's like pretty nice outside, not too hot, not too cold. When I first put the ice in, it was like 8 degrees approximately, maybe seven
yeah,
degrees, which is by the way not the coldest.
yeah,
I've been in like 3 degrees. That's like the most I've tolerated. And then over the hour, my body heat naturally warms up the bath.
yeah,
And the issue is not the cold because I'm used to it. The issue is staying in that like fixed position. So I just switched to
yeah,
kneeling from
yeah.
like sitting. I was squatting before, I'm kneeling, I'm sitting. We spoke about this before, just to like, move things up a bit. Then I'm gonna move after the bath is over. I move for like 10 minutes just to get blood flow back. Then if I'm in the mood, I'll maybe take a warm shower and then off to the beach we go.
Yeah. How far's the beach away?
Um, Closest beach is like 45 minutes. Sarah surfs a lot, so oh, nice shoes. Sarah surfs a lot, so she tends to go there very often. And Friday is like our beach day. Charlie loves it. We also play frisbee. He's a very good swimmer, by the way. Oh, speaking of swimming, I don't have kids yet. One day,
Yeah,
yeah. He's been exposed to nature and water since he was 1 month old. The day I got him from the first of all, he grew up in a ranch. Okay.
yeah,
So he grew up outside, he grew up in dog shit, he grew up in goat shit. Exposure, he's healthy, he's strong, he doesn't have any of this like ear infections or all these weird stuff that dogs get when you
yeah,
over medicate them. That I think that's like a big mistake on dog owners' parts. I've exposed him. He's been hiking with me everywhere since he was 1 month old. So at 4 months old,
yeah,
30-kilometer hike. At 8 months old, 120-kilometer hike. Sprinting,
yeah,
running. What he lives my lifestyle, and
yeah,
because of that, he's not afraid of anything. He's not afraid of people. He's not afraid of dogs. He's not afraid of cars. I mean, he's a little afraid of cars. He's working on that.
that's a
He's not
good one.
afraid of water. He goes into the ocean without even thinking, riding the waves. He goes into the surf.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he goes into like natural pools. He sees water. I jump off a cliff. He jumps with me, and that's
Yeah,
not because I mean he's crazy in a good way, and I love him, but it's because I am a role model for him, and he sees if dad is going in the ocean, it's safe. I can too. So as parents of kids, I'm not a parent yet with humans,
yeah,
but if you're a wimp when it comes to these things, or if you're like scared and like scared of this, scared of that, your kid's gonna be scared too. If your dog
yeah,
at 1 month old sees you going in the ocean, the waves, he's gonna go in with you. So like we're role models for our animals, for our humans, and I've learned so much about parenting from him. How he like the
yeah.
exposure to these things made him just fearless. He doesn't.
So
He goes into a wavy, choppy ocean without blinking, and he rides the waves, keeping his head above the water. It's insane.
we so with the kids on that, you catch yourself saying, "Be careful." Oh, watch out! Be careful all the time. And I like in the last 3 or 4 years, I've just stopped saying I have to catch myself, and now I don't say it much at all. And I say to my wife, "Don't say be careful. They've got it. You know, you just
Right.
got to trust that they've got it. They know their limits." And grandparents are the worst. They're always saying, "Be careful, be careful, be careful."
Yeah.
All you're telling the kid is that's dangerous and you might hurt yourself. It's better for the kid to work it out for themselves. And what's the worst case scenario? They get broken bone and it heals, and then they're fine. You know?
Yeah. Yo, so a funny story. So I think like a year ago, I was with Charlie and Sarah in the up north in the Jordan River, and there was this dad there with his kid. The kid was like maybe 2 years old, and along the river they have these like Tarzan style rope swings where like people have just attached ropes left there so you like swing into the river.
Yeah, we have
Kid's
them here.
2 years old, probably
Yeah,
can't swim, nothing. And the kid's like, I want to try. So like me being a nervous, not a nervous adult, but I saw like a kid trying to swing into the water
yeah,
and with a strong current. So I like went there to like, be a
yeah,
backup. And the dad's like, no, don't help him. And I'm like, why? He's like, because if my kid wants to do a rope swing, either he does it or he realizes that he's not old enough and can't do it. And I'm like, wow. Like it
yeah,
may seem extreme, but he's basically allowing the kid to be independent, explore on his own, and make the conscious decision of either I'm adult enough to do this thing and I can do it on my own. Obviously, me or him, someone will help him out if he's like drowning,
yeah,
or he's not old enough. And then like as I was watching this father's like approach to his kid, he took his kid, he put him in like a bungee, like over the water, and it was like swinging him up and down. Like, and I'm like, okay, this is a dad who wants his kid to be like outgoing and
yeah,
and just growing. And as parents, once again, we're educators, we're role models. If we don't expose our kids to this shit when they're young, Who says they're gonna do it when it's old? Don't force it on them. But the more
Yeah.
sports and movement-rich lifestyle you live as they live as kids, the more likely that as they get older, they're going to be incorporating in their lifestyle when their parents as well. Like we're role models. People don't realize that our sedentary, unactive lifestyle of smoking and drinking, it affects
Yeah.
the people around us as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Is
Well,
that ticked all the boxes?
say it again.
Have that ticked all the boxes? They've had it again now. See, they're resting.
Aw, that's so cool. It's like high. It's like Tabata style, like high intensity.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
then off.
yeah, we can chat all day, man. We never tick off all the boxes. But before we bounce, anything else you like to add or share to the vast people out there?
No, I'm good.
Wow.
Just
So
take your shoes off. Take your shoes off.
yeah, absolutely. I've been on that train for a few years, never went back. And there's plenty of beautiful barefoot companies out there for those nervous about it. There's beautiful shoes out there. You don't have to worry that they're ugly or weird looking. And before we bounce, can you just tell us where we can find you on Instagram, Facebook, website, all the good stuff?
So my website is Melbourne Natural Podiatry. My Instagram is Andy Bryant Podiatrist. That's it really.
Yeah, he's one of the forerunners of the barefoot education out there. I see like the Barefoot Life store here in Israel. I see like them reposting your shit all the time. Like,
Oh really?
yeah, people like we have like a Barefoot Israeli running group. People
Yeah.
like post your stuff all the time. People post Anya stuff. Like it's coming to Israel, and
Yeah.
it's a privilege and an honor to know people like you and be part of this community. And it's cool. I met you through Instagram, dude. Like,
Yeah. It's
I
a
would.
weird world.
Yeah, this episode never happened. All right, Andy.
I can't wait for you
Thank
to
you
get
so
out
much.
here.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming along to the show. Goodbye, doggies, and it's a privilege, man. Thanks so much. Have an
See you, mate.
amazing night,
Glad we got it.
day, something. Toodle doo.
See ya.